Hi guys, I hope that you're having a fabulous day. Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be discussing bags I sold and why, but with a major twist, because I will also be sharing what I sold some of these bags for, especially when it came to me selling them to consignment shops. And not only that, oh no, not only that, because I will also be sharing how much I originally paid for these bags. That way you have something to compare them to. So we have a whole lot of information in today's video. So I hope that you enjoy it. If you do, make sure and give it a thumbs up. And without further ado, let's get started, shall we? All right, so there are a total of 7 bags, and I'm going to try to go through them as quickly as possible, but at the same time, I want to give you guys the biggest pro, the biggest con, and just a little bit more information on the bag, especially if you are interested in the style. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that you guys are going to get the same amount of money that I got for my bags. You might have gotten more if you sold them in the past, or you might have gotten a little bit less, because when it comes to selling luxury goods, there are so many different factors that you have to take into consideration. You have to think about the color, the condition, the season that you're even trying to sell the bag in. Not only that, you have to think about if you are selling it to a consignment shop, does that consignment shop have a lot of the same style already? And if it's a style that's not too popular, they might offer you a little bit less if they anticipate that the item might end up sitting on their shelves for a little bit longer. So again, there are a lot of different variables to take into consideration, but the reason why I wanted to discuss and I wanted to include a little bit more info is just to give you a ballpark figure. And even then, I say that very loosely because of what I said previously, but still, just to kind of give you an idea, if you are thinking about parting with a bag that is similar to the one that I'm going to be sharing, or the bags that I'm going to be sharing, or if you maybe instead of going through a consignment shop, you think that selling it yourself would be a better avenue. Either way, I am all for more information. You guys know that. So I sincerely hope that you guys find this video helpful. Okay, so let's get started. That was enough chit chat. I don't think these bags are going to surprise anybody because I've talked about them being on the chopping block before. So a lot of those bags are going to be in this video. Okay, enough, Minnie, enough. All right, so the first one is the Goyard St. Louis tote in the PM size in the beautiful green. So I had that bag for about 3 years, roughly 3 years, and I originally paid about $17.75, right around there with tax and shipping and all that other good stuff. So I paid $17.75. I sold it to Fashion File for $2,000. So I was able to make a little bit of money on a bag that I had for a few years, which I think is pretty great. Now, there are many things that I appreciated about this bag. I loved how lightweight it was. It was very comfortable to use for extended periods of time. Even if I was carrying a little bit more with me, it didn't feel like it was weighing down my shoulder by any means whatsoever. I was obsessed with the color. The color is out of this world, and I thought it was one of the prettiest greens I have ever seen in my life. I also like the little pouch that it came with. Now, ultimately, the reason why I decided to part ways with it is because of the sheen. The fact that it was so shiny drove me nuts because I feel like that same sheen really takes away from the bag and it makes it look really, for lack of a better word, it makes it look really cheap, all right? I know that many of you guys are going to disagree with me, and to each their own, but I just felt like it really took away from the bag. It did not look like a $2,000 bag. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It looks like a cheap bag that I've had in the back of my closet for 5 years that I completely forgot about. And because of that the same shininess that it had on the exterior, you can see the wrinkles that it had on the bag. Even if I was using an organizer, whether I was using an organizer or not, it didn't matter. The same sheen ended up magnifying those wrinkles, so it made it look even. It made it look even like older. I don't know, but it just doesn't. I don't know, it didn't do anything for me anymore. You know, like I said, it had quite a few things going for it, but the fact that it was so shiny was just, it was too much. It was way too much. Now, I will say that I personally never had any issues with wear and tear. I know some people have experienced quite a bit of wear and tear issues with the St. Louis tote, either with the cracking canvas or with the leather splitting. Some people have had great success, but I personally didn't have any issues. And it could very well be because it's a tote that I didn't reach for as often. I mean, I put it to the test, but it's also a tote that I didn't use every single day. So again, the wear and tear isn't going to be the same as a bag that is in my constant rotation or a bag that I use every single day or what have you. So I also wanted to throw that out there just in case, but I'm not trying to take anything away from Goyard because obviously they have some fabulous history and they have some fantastic pieces, but specifically the St. Louis tote just doesn't just doesn't do it for me. Definitely not. And it sucks because I was so excited about the bag when I got it, because I had heard so many great things, and I was like, oh my God, Goyard, you know, you don't really see it too often, at least not here on the West Coast. You don't see it as often as maybe you do on the East Coast. But yeah, I gave it a shot. I had it for a few years. It was fun while it lasted, but peace out, it had to go. The next bag is the Chanel Mini Vanity in the Caviar Beige Clair with the Champagne Gold hardware. So I had that bag for about 2.5 years, somewhere along those lines, and I believe I paid either $2,500 for it or $2,700 for it. I'm almost positive, I'm like 99.9% sure I paid $2,700 for it, but I sold it to Fashionphile for, are you ready? Are you ready? I sold it to Fashionphile for $1,850 bucks. I know. I lost quite a bit of money. Am I happy that I lost that much money? No, but it just goes to show that sometimes even before I buy the item, while I'm literally at the counter talking about it, I will be discussing the red flags that I see for the item. The red flags for me adding it to my collection. Old Minnie will creep back in and say, oh, you should get it. It's super cute. You can make it work. You can make it work. I end up buying it, and it ends up not being what I thought it would be, which is stupid because obviously I knew the red flags before I bought it, right? But I excused it, I justified it, and here we are. Now I did use it. I used it for a couple of weddings. I also had some fancy events. Yes, sometimes I get fancy. I had some fancy events, and it was great to use it for those types of things. But ultimately, the reason why I decided to get rid of it is because I really wanted to use it more so as a catch-all inside of my larger bags. And it didn't work because of the chain. The chain is not removable, so anytime I wanted to use it as a catch-all, which I know that doesn't make sense, some people would be like, why would you want to use it as a catch-all? You know me, sometimes when it comes to those SLGs, I like to try to incorporate them various ways into my collection, not just the way that it's intended. But with this one, I really ended up pushing the envelope a little too much. I knew it wouldn't end up working out that way, but that chain would get in the way because every time I wanted to use it as a catch-all, I had to put the chain in first, and it really took away from anything else that I wanted to carry. I really wish that the chain was removable because the cube itself, the vanity itself, is like stupid cute. And for that price point, it's ridiculous, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, that's why I parted ways with it. And I seriously questioned my sanity before I sent it to them. I was like, maybe I should wait, maybe I should hold off. And I actually sent them a couple quotes on the same item. I think I sent it in a total of 3 or 4 times. And the last time was when they offered me the most, because remember what I said in the beginning, sometimes it depends on the season that you're trying to sell something, or if they have a lot of that same item. If they know that it'll end up sitting on their shelf for a little bit of time, they might offer you a little bit less. So, I thought about all that. I looked at all of the factors, but I knew that it was an item that I wasn't going to be using. And I thought, okay, what if I wait? And then what if then they end up offering me less? I'm just going to take the money now. And that's exactly what I did. But it's super adorable. Was it practical as a bag? No. I could fit quite a bit in there. Let's be honest. I could fit quite a bit in there because of my Tetris skills. But again, the way that I really, really wanted to use it is not as a handbag, even though it's technically not a handbag. I wanted to use it as a catch-all. It just didn't end up working out that way. Sometimes I'm so stubborn in wanting to make something work that it ends up blowing up in my face, and then I end up losing money. So there we go. You know, live and learn. Cute, but never again. Never again. Maybe if it was like $500, then I'll go for it. But dude, paying over $2 grand for a little cube that I want to use as a catch-all inside of my bigger, like, no, dude, think, Minnie, think. My goodness. Okay, let's keep going. So the next bag is the Dragon Diffusion Santa Croce in the red leather. So I had this bag for about a year, if that, but I paid $428 for this handbag. I sold it on consignment to the Real. They sold it for $455, but I didn't see $455. My cut was actually $273, which I don't think is too bad, considering that I thought it was going to be a bag that I was going to get stuck with. Now, the Santa Croce, I had heard so many wonderful things about Dragon Diffusion. I was very interested in many of their styles, and I think it is a beautiful bag. I love the color, I love the silhouette, I love the weaving that it had. It had so much going for it, but ultimately the reason why I decided to part ways with it is because I experienced color transfer, not only on the exterior, but also in the interior. So the second time that I used the bag, I had a stain on my shirt from carrying it on the crook of my arm that was way, like, I did not expect that. Then I also had some items in my handbag. Some of my SLGs ended up getting some red tint because of the interior of the bag as well, because it was actually vegetable tanned, if I'm not mistaken. So that vegetable tanning just didn't end up working out the best. And sometimes when I would carry it, I would see it on my hand as well. So immediate red flags, immediate red flags. And I thought about getting a sealant to kind of seal in the color, but that would only take care of the exterior. So that way I wouldn't have any type of color transfer on my clothing. But then I would have to add some type of sealant on the interior so it didn't transfer onto my small leather goods again. So it's like, dude, there was way too much work to go into it, and it was just driving me nuts. Even though I liked so many aspects about it, the biggest con, the biggest red flag was, of course, the fact that I had that color transfer. It was not cute. It definitely wasn't worth it. But again, I thought it was going to be a bag that I was like, dude, 428 bucks bites the dust, right? But no, I was happy that I was able to sell it on consignment to the Real. And I mean, I didn't get what I paid for it, but it's better than nothing, right? So I was totally happy with the amount of money that I got from it. All right, the next one, this one might surprise some of you guys, but if you know me, you know that sometimes I am my own worst enemy when it comes to buying the same thing over and over again. Sometimes I end up playing out things myself. But the next bag was the Marc Jacobs, the tote bag in the medium size in the argan oil. So I had the bag for about 3.5 years, and from day one, it was my work bag. It was a fantastic work bag, but I paid $450 for the bag. I sold it on Instagram for $325. At a $325, I also have to carve out what I paid for shipping, because anytime I sell anything online or anytime I sell anything on Instagram, I always do free shipping. So it wasn't a full 325 bucks. But anyways, I still think it's a great bag. I will forever sing its praises. Just because it's not part of my collection anymore doesn't mean that I'm going to change my mind on how I view the Marc Jacobs, the tote bags, because I've said it before and I will say it again. They are some of the best money that I have ever spent on handbags. It was great as a work bag. It was very comfortable. It was spacious. It fit everything that I needed. It fit my laptop, everything, all of my files. But I used it every day for about 3 years as a work bag. And this is something that I don't talk about too often, but you guys know that with my everyday bags, I like to switch out of them daily because I get very stir crazy. That's not the same for work bags. For work bags, I will use them for years at a time. And I had actually purchased a new work bag because I was kind of getting sick of seeing the Marc Jacobs, the tote bag every day. But I purchased a new work bag and I thought, okay, I'm going to retire the Marc Jacobs one. I don't foresee myself jumping back into it later on because, again, I do tend to get stir crazy after years for a work bag. So I thought, okay, it's time to say goodbye. It was great while it lasted. I will always, always, always sing its praises. But yeah, I just kind of got sick of seeing it every day at work. I wanted to see something different, you know? But I will say this, during that time, I never had any issues with wear and tear. I never had problems with pop stitches. I didn't have problems with the leather stretching out too much, especially because I would fill that bag to the brim and it still looked like it was brand new. So it held up amazingly well. So like I said before, it is a fabulous handbag to use as a work bag. The next bag, this one might surprise some of you, maybe, but the next bag is the Loewe mini basket bag in the yellow leather. So you guys know that I have the medium basket bag. I have it in white and I have it in brown, and I use those bags all the time for spring and summer. I think that they're fantastic. So when I saw the yellow one, I actually bought it at the Cabazon outlet. I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. It's yellow. I was on my yellow kick big time during that time. And I thought that the price was pretty good. I paid $415. I sold it to Fashion File for 450 bucks. So I was able to make a little bit of money, not too much. If anything, at least I got what I paid for it. And I believe I had the bag for I want to say maybe a year, year and a half, somewhere along those lines. And I mean, I love the silhouette. I think that Loewe makes some of the best basket bags out there. I think that they're a little bit overpriced considering the materials that they're made of. We all know this. But I really like the silhouette. It's very simple and I love their leather. But ultimately, I ended up getting rid of it because every single time that I used it, my stuff would fly out because it's not so tall. It's a little bit on the shorter side. All my stuff ended up flying out. There is no magnetic closure, there's no zipper, there's nothing there to hold my stuff in, and I didn't get an organizer for it because I was like, okay, I don't really use an organizer for my medium ones. I think that the small one's gonna work out the same way, and I was totally wrong. It didn't work out that way. The first time it happened when I was at Target, I was at the little Ulta area, I was looking at some lipsticks, I bent over, not even a lot, I bent over a little bit, my stuff goes flying out. It happened at Lowe's, it happened at the grocery store. I was like, dude, I'm not dealing with this. It's super cute, but it just didn't work out the way that I would have liked because again, I kept comparing it to the medium and I shouldn't because obviously there's a huge height difference between the two. And not only that, and this might sound totally weird, but to me, it didn't really mesh with me. It didn't really go with my style, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense considering that I'm so fond of the medium ones. But with this one, it felt like it was like cutesy. It felt almost like a novelty bag. It felt kind of like I was wearing a prop instead of it being an actual handbag. And sometimes when I would wear it, you guys are gonna think I'm nuts, but sometimes when I would wear it, it felt more like I was going out to forage for berries than I would to go shopping and it needed to carry my small leather goods, you know? Like it just didn't, I don't know. It didn't really feel too comfortable using it, and it could be because it was so short and it was a little bit bulbous this way. I don't know, but it just didn't work out the way that I would have liked, and it's such a bummer because the color was beautiful, and again, you guys know I'm such a big fan of the silhouette, but yeah, no, I don't know. It just, the fact that everything kept flying out, and I thought maybe if I got an organizer for it, but I'm like, no, I need like some kind of closure because it's so short. That's really going to help it to keep my items inside of the bag. And I was like, no, I'm not even going to deal with it, you know, especially if I feel that way, you know, when I'm carrying it out and about, like it doesn't feel like it's an actual bag. It feels more like a prop. I'm like, it's time to say goodbye. It was great while it lasted. All right, actually it wasn't great while it lasted, it was terrible. Now the next one is the Polène number 9 in the black leather with the gold hardware. Now you guys know that the company sent that bag out to me, so I didn't pay anything for it. I sold it on Instagram for $375, and out of that $375, I do have to carve out shipping because once again, I did offer free shipping. All right, so the Polène number 9, I think it is a beautiful bag. I love the silhouette. The leather is fantastic. You guys also know that I have two of them. I had the black one and I also have this one. Out of the two, this is the one that I reach for more, and I just love this color a lot more. I didn't really see myself using the black one very often. I think it got down to using it maybe once every year, once every other year, because I had the bag for, I want to say it was probably like 3.5 years, somewhere along those lines, maybe if not 4. I could be wrong, don't quote me on it, but I didn't really reach for it too often because this color always gets me. I love adding a chain to it. It just gives it a little bit more me. But the leather on this, like I said before, is absolutely phenomenal. Sometimes when I carry this bag, I'm just sitting there, just touching on the leather because it's so amazing and it smells even more fantastic. But again, I just didn't want to have two of the same, especially with one just sitting there on my shelf not being used. So I thought maybe someone else could end up getting use out of the bag. And because I didn't pay for the bag, I wanted to pay it forward and I donated that money to a local animal shelter. All right, so the next bag, I'm not going to even attempt to say the name, all right? But it's this bag right here. So it is another Polène. As you guys know, the company gifted me this bag and I believe I had it for, I want to say maybe 1.5 years, almost 2 years, somewhere along those lines. I thought it was really cute. I love the silhouette. I thought it was great, especially because I have this thing for basket bags, but ultimately I ended up getting rid of it because I used it once and once was more than enough for me. It was not functional, it was not practical bag whatsoever. Super, super cute, but as an actual handbag, yeah, it wasn't my cup of tea. I felt like the flap was just a little bit on the annoying part to get in and out of. So again, I decided to part ways with it. So I didn't pay anything for the handbag. I sold it on consignment to the Real. They sold it for $375. Out of that $375, my cut was $220. $125. And just like the previous Polène, because I didn't pay for it, I donated that money to a local women's shelter. But yeah, it was a cute bag. It was a really great concept, but ultimately it just didn't work out as a handbag the way that I would have liked. But anyways, that does it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope I was able to give you a little bit more information, especially if you're looking to add these styles to your collection, or if you're looking to sell these handbags as well. And like I said in the beginning, just because I got these prices doesn't mean that's what you're gonna get. You might get more, you might get less. There are so many different factors to take into consideration, but one thing that I always like to discuss whenever I talk about selling handbags is that if you are unsure about selling a handbag, if there is the slightest shred of doubt that you might regret it, hold off on it. Until you know for sure that it's time to move forward, that's when I suggest selling the bag. And what I really like to do is I like to take it out for one last spin, because by taking it out for one last spin, I feel like I can really assess the bag. I can really pinpoint what I love about it, what I don't like about it. If the pros outweigh the cons, then I keep it. If the cons outweigh the pros, then I end up selling it. Sometimes I have fallen back in love with the bag by taking it out for that one last spin. I mean, you just never know, but seriously, hold off. If there is the slightest doubt that you might end up, regret selling it, hold off on it until you know the time is right. And trust me, you are gonna know when it's time to say goodbye to the bag. You're gonna be like, okay, I loved it. It was great while it lasted. It's time to say goodbye and put that money towards something else. I don't know, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure and give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already and you'd like to, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys in my next one. And as always, make it a fabulous day or not, the choice is yours. Have a great day.